Welcome back to the Tribal Lines podcast. I'm your host, Steven Lupo, here with my co-host, Pat Johnson. And
It's
we
well
are
back.
back. We are back. I'm back. Right now, Pat has been doing Survivor Brantford podcast with Ryan since I was in the cast of Survivor Brantford and couldn't podcast for it. But now I am back on your screens podcasting Survivor. I'm super excited. And we have a lot of things to talk about, several things to talk about in this podcast. And according to Jelinski, several means seven. So it's in the name. So apparently we got seven things to talk about this podcast.
Yeah, if I'm going to be quite frank with you, I think we have more than seven things to talk about. There could be
Yeah.
like seven severals of things to talk
Uh-huh.
about with this premiere. Like you said, Steve, happy to have you back. Happy to be back with Survivor. Took a detour back out of Brantford into Fiji. It's been really awesome to be back. I like this cast a lot. And I'm excited to get into it. But before we get into it, we're going to be doing some trivia. Obviously, it's the Travel Lines podcast. Going to be doing some trivia, but we're going to change it up. So, beginning of the episode, we're going to be asking some of these trivia questions. But Steve's got a really cool book, and I want to just be fun with it and just give him a page number. So, I'm going to give you a page number. Whatever's there, you got to read it.
Okay. All
All
right.
right.
Sounds good.
So, how many pages are there?
Um, there are 204 pages.
82.
Page 82. Okay.
82.
Let's see what we got.
First Tribal Lines question of Survivor Season 46
Here we
is
go. Okay. All right. This is a good one. Which castaway gave his hidden immunity idol to a member of the opposing tribe? Okay, so submit your answers by DMing us on Instagram at tribal_lines_pod. If you DM us, you will get entered for a chance to win a Survivor cameo of $50 or less, which is awesome. And I know everyone is going to want to win. We are going to, this time around for Survivor 46, for the first six episodes, so episodes 1 through 6, you can submit answers to these trivia questions and be entered to win this $50 cameo. And then we will also do another giveaway for something completely different and Survivor related for episode 7 to episode 12. All right, so be sure to check out the first few minutes of each of our recap podcasts for our trivia question. We'll be selecting ones out of this book almost every time. And yeah, just submit your answers. You might
yeah,
as well. It's free. It's free to enter. So just submit your answers on Instagram.
yeah, it costs you nothing, and if you made it this far, that means not only are you going to submit the question, the answer to the question, but you want to hear about Survivor 46. It started off with a bang. I feel like I say that every year, but this season has something unique to it. We have a really, really fun first boot to talk about. We have a lot of different complex things going on with the tribes. A lot of big characters standing out very early on, and excited to rock and roll like Ben and get right into it. Steven, what are your initial thoughts on 46? What do you got to say going into it?
So my initial thoughts for 46. One is that Jelinski's insane. We're gonna have so much fun talking about him. He I think is the main reason why this episode wasn't completely awful. I I for some reason am not as high on this season as I am on other past seasons. Maybe it's because this season, last season, I did a ton of research on all the players, and this season I tried to take a step back, not do any research, just to see what it's like watching Survivor from not knowing who the players are ahead of time and just enjoying the edit. Um, that could be why, but I don't know. These players didn't excite me as much as I expected them to, but there were some definite standout characters that I'm really looking forward to watching, and I think it's just going to get better from here. First episodes are not always the best because you're just meeting all the players for the first time, and you're only getting to see one tribal council, and people are just meeting for the first time, so those alliances aren't going to be like solidified. So I think we'll get better episodes coming up, but overall, I'm excited for another season of Survivor.
Yeah,
What
I
about you?
mean, I think that's where we kind of that's where I'm kind of always so like gung ho is because I'm like Survivor's back. I don't care what it looks like. It could be the worst looking thing. You could throw me One World again, and I'll be like, yeah, we're back. You know. But for me, is there something to be said? Yeah, is there like a pre-game bias that you may have going into the game if you do that preseason digging like like you usually do or that I do? Like I'm really high on some people because of maybe Rob has a podcast or checking out their Instagram and looking like what kind of things that they're involved in, what do they do, what are their hobbies, what kind of vibe am I getting off, so you have these preconceived notions going in when you do some preseason, but when you're kind of going in blindly like yourself and just reading the edit, you just have the couple of minutes that each person does have on the screen when you're spreading it between 18 ways on the premiere. So you don't really get a whole lot of anybody. And then what you do get is very telling in episode 1. I feel like the premiere tells you something every single time. I mean, regardless of what you do get, but that's just reading an edit perspective, and that's just a whole different type of analysis. But I was really intrigued early on, by the way, just by the way that they opened up the episode, right?
Uh-huh.
The
Yep.
way that Tevin had the kind of like a narrative there, I kind of didn't even think about like, oh, winner edit. I wasn't thinking about edit. I was into the moment. I was into like what it was because it was new. It was unique. It was different. They don't do things like that all the time. And it was really cool to see them kind of shake it up in that sense. We saw in the previews with the audition tape like promos. We were getting like new glimpses of what their editing teams and were doing. And to see Tevin kind of open up the season, it was kind of refreshing to see something new in a season of Survivor that can often, off the bat, feel super repetitive because of the new era.
Yeah, I think they did something interesting with Carolyn in 44. They did something interesting again with Tevin in 46. Um, I did see a stat for the seasons 30 to 45 that the first player to get a confessional in the opening episode, um, never only one person has ever won, and that's Tony Vlachos in season 40. But I'd say at least 80% of them uh place really well. They all place like they're all jury pretty much, or all like the top finalists, or a finalist, or like very close to the end, or they're just a big personality or a big player. So I don't know if Tevin necessarily will end up winning the game, but I think Tevin is going to be a very key part of this season. That's my prediction. I think he's going to go very far. And just from what we saw in the first episode, he has a lot of things going for him. A lot of people like him. He has a fun personality. I think he's going to have a great social game. I think he's here to play. Definitely going to make a lot of strategic moves to better his game. I think we're in for a treat with Tevin.
Yeah, me too. And I think Survivor has its ways of not only casting, but once they cast and the game starts, finding their storytellers early on, right?
Hmm.
Season
Right.
maybe
I think
one.
Tevin's definitely going to be a storyteller for sure.
Right. He's going to carry kind of the narrative of the season. Kind of just, I would put $100 that down that he makes the finale. I don't know. That's just my.
That's crazy.
I'm not saying final three, but I'd put $100 down that he makes final six, final five.
I'd
And
put $100 that he makes the merge. He makes it past the double tribal maybe, but I don't
yeah,
know.
no, I just think he's going to be a huge player. It was kind of like, I don't know. I'm pretty good with calling like winners. I'm in the new era. Like, there's only been 5 seasons. I've called two. Like, that's pretty good.
You
Like,
called D, and who else did you call? Jam Jam.
I called Jam Jam and Gabler. I didn't call D. Did
You
I
didn't
call?
call D? I thought you called D.
No, I mean I picked Jake in the fantasy draft,
Right.
but I think I was like D gives me high winner vibes. Like I feel like that's like a thing. I don't know
Yeah,
that I
maybe
ever
maybe
really.
D wasn't your winner pick preseason, but like after a couple of episodes, you switched to D and you wrote it out.
Yeah, yeah. I kind of went with Jake, and then I took the zero vote finalist. I called Gabler only because of the preview. And isn't that crazy? Because there's this like part where he's like, "This is Survivor. You will feel blood. You will feel pain, or something like that." And his face has mud all over it, and then it just goes to black. And I'm like, "That's the winner of the season." Like, I don't care what anyone.
That's actually crazy that you thought Gabler would win. That's actually
Yeah, and
wild.
everyone thought I was nuts, and I was like, "He's in the final five. Like, everyone go fuck yourself." Like, you know what I mean? Like, let's go. But anyway, enough about 43.
Yeah.
Back to 46. Yeah, I mean, Tevin, I think he's going to be a storyteller. I think he's going to be super fun. But before we get into our tribes, we don't really get a big Matt chat. Well, we don't get a Matt chat at all. But what we do get is we get
Very interesting one.
Jeff kind of giving a weird comment here, which I loved. I thought it was awesome
I
because it
did
has
too.
every single person going, "That's not me," but is it me? Right? Because it's Jeff Probst, and not only that, anyone could say that you're in this game. You like Jeff just goes, "There's 18 of you out here, but there's one of you that does not matter who you're sitting next to. You can't win this game."
Something about your personality
Yeah,
is so awful
and I
that
saw the
you
first
cannot
episode,
win.
and I kind of thought to myself, "Did Jeff get it right? Like, was he talking about the
Was
first?"
he talking about Jelinski?
It's quite possible because no shade to Jelinski. I mean, I would love to have Jelinski on the pod. I feel like he's fun, but like I feel like if Jeff was targeting anyone in that sense, with that, it was Jelinski.
Yeah. Well, he's well, what he was trying to get at is, I guess, like uh, he's kind of calling Jake out, I feel like. I don't know. Or like just zero vote finalists in general, like saying like we've had so many zero vote finalists in this new era that like someone is probably going to be a zero vote finalist because nobody thinks that you're good enough to win if you make it to the end, like no matter what
Well,
it
think
is.
about it. I mean, is that the player's fault or is that the game? Is that the game structure fault? Because for me,
Yeah.
it's one of those things like when you have a final three, it's like when you're in that position to make like you start to think about if you're thinking final two, right? It's very hard to just like bring someone and bank on like that goat being someone that can bring you in a final three situation. But in a final four, you have a bit more of a cushion because you have your chances of like have increased. I don't know where I got that from, but I feel like that's right. And
Right.
I don't know. I just feel like for me, like it's just kind of tougher to like not have a zero vote finalist in a final three because there's always going to be that one person you want to bring for that sole reason of having a final three. I don't know.
I also I don't know. I feel like even though we keep getting zero vote finalists, I don't know if Jeff's right with that. Like I think that there is not always one person who just can't win no matter what. Like I feel like it really all depend. There could be a situation where like everyone in the finale has a possible chance to win, and it's all gonna be based off um the jury and like the speeches you give at Final Tribal. Obviously, that's usually not the case. Usually, it's pretty obvious there's some threats and there's some non-threats near the end game because people like to take if they're an ally of yours, if they're going to vote with you and they're not playing a great game, you want to take them as far as possible. So there's definitely going to be people who make it to the end who aren't respected by the jury members. Um, but I don't know if it's necessarily all the time because of their personality, because that's something that Jeff said is like someone's personality is not going to gel well with the group. Like I think it might just be, you're left out of some votes. You got unlucky. You're on the bottom. Like I don't know, but I just either way, regardless of like what he was trying to get at or not, I'm happy he didn't. He said something instead of saying like, "Oh, one of you has a chance to win." He was like, "One of you definitely is gonna lose."
Yeah, no,
I thought that was really funny.
17 of you are going to lose.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
exactly.
mhm. And that's the thing. And for me, you know, I love the comment because it just adds like what I was saying, like that element of like this is not just a game. It's more than a game. It's it's gonna take everything out of you. And it really just shows that like the last person, standing deserves to win the game. And I really just I don't know. Something about Jeff, I feel like he kind of got soft on us a little bit, and I want him to get some of that edge back, and maybe this could be a step into getting some of that edge back. I've read some things that he wants to be a little bit more vocal and a little bit more like edgy here at like not Final Tribal, but just Tribal Council in general, and to
He
really
was
just
with Zelensky, which was good.
yeah, and that was very good to see because I want that Jeff back. I want this game to be super hard,
hmm
and the game is hard, and let's get into our tribes. We
Yeah,
have purple. They're going to be Yanu. We have green, who are Siga. We have orange, that are Nami, or as Soda would say, Nami, Nami. I thought that was hilarious. She's gonna be fun. Um, Off the bat, dude, I'm like, orange is so good. Like,
yeah. I had a feel. I knew that Orange was going to be a strong tribe. I do think they're going to. I do think that them and Siga are probably the two strongest tribes. I expected orange to be the best, green to be the second best, and purple to be the worst. Going into the first episode, preseason before I even saw the episode, my prediction was that Jess was going to go home and that purple would go to tribal. I feel like I was pretty spot on with that. If Jelinski didn't act as crazy as he did, Jess would have been the obvious first boot, and I would have been right. But yeah, I
Yeah.
feel like Orange is a strong tribe. I think they'll do well.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at all the tribes and I was like, you know what, Orange looks good because I feel like Tevin's gonna be a game player, gonna be in it for the long run. I feel like Hunter's a merge guy. Feel like with the women on that tribe, like I feel like I don't know, I got mixed vibes from Venus. I see a world where she's like, you know, out early for playing too aggressively, like we saw in the beginning.
Yeah, I think
So
she's like
I don't even think that she was playing that aggressively. I think she was talking that she wanted to do so, but it didn't come off that way until she kind of I mean, Brandon kind of shot himself in the foot there, in my opinion, and we'll kind of get to that as well. But Venus is someone who I can see kind of going either way. Soda, kind of the same. Liz, I mean, I was high on her going into the season, but I just feel like, I heard something on the feedback show or Know It Alls with Rob's podcast. I thought it was a really good point with Liz, like that comment about her making like millions of dollars and selling her company.
so stupid.
So stupid, but such a comment of someone who's just like out of their element. Like, I don't think that she is a cocky person. I think that came from a sense of like, I need to like prove myself that I'm like, I can hang with these people, like a little bit out of my comfort zone, like not used to this type thing.
Hmm.
I think she has a chance to. I don't think I think they showed us that for a reason. They always do, right? But at the same time, like I don't think she's in trouble if they go next. I think
That tribe is really weird in terms of like I
there's a
feel like
couple.
we know the least
I could
about
see it landing on 3 people or 4 people. Like I could
it.
see it
Me
landing
too.
on Soda, Venus, Randon, or Liz.
Or Liz. I
Yeah,
just feel like Hunter and Tevin are going to be definitely a different type of combination of a duo than Austin and Drew, but I think they're going to be like the Austin and Drew of the season.
yeah. No, I mean maybe a Cody Jesse type thing.
Yeah, maybe a Cody Jesse is a better thing where Hunter's the Cody and Tevin's the Jesse. Um, I can definitely see that. So yeah, but I think they're going to be a tight duo in the season for sure. Um, they definitely have opposite personalities, which I think
I think
honestly
that works well
helps
in
a
Survivor.
lot with it helps a lot with duos in Survivor. I think they're
Yeah.
both in a good spot. My bold prediction is Hunter he seems like someone who is a likable enough guy for people to want to keep him around, but not a likable enough guy to constantly be in the majority. I feel like he is going to be probably as close to a Jake type player as possible from 45. I think he's going to
You
make
think
it
so? That's
far,
where I
but he's not going to
disagree.
get.
I disagree for one reason, and I think it's because he's got Tevin. And Tevin is this big social connection that if him and Tevin are pretty close and they go into a merge with like 3 or 4 of them and him and Tevin are the tight two of that and Tevin tries to do some things. I think Hunter's right there, with him. Um, I see a world where um, who did I want to say? Ben can be more like a Jake. Um,
I feel like Ben, everyone loves Ben, but for some reason, I'm still going to stick to my preseason prediction that he's going to be pre-merge.
I guess what? I'd put more money on that he wins, that he's pre-merge.
Really.
Yeah.
I'm just
I
worried.
think he's guaranteed the merge. Ben is guaranteed the merge, 100%.
I think that if they go to tribal though, we'll talk about all the alliances and whatnot later on, but I feel like for green, the girls seem very tight and they have an extra vote, so they have majority. So I feel like a guy is going to go first. Charlie is included in that alliance, so Charlie's not going to go. So it's either going to be Tim or it's going to be Ben going home.
No,
And
going on
Tim,
Mariah first.
what?
Going on Mariah first.
Mariah first?
100%.
I don't know. I mean,
Maria's gonna go with the boys, and Jem's gonna fucking go with it.
that honestly maybe because they talked so much stuff about the girls in episode one. Like whenever you talk about a girls alliance in episode one, it always backfires.
Well, this is what I was saying. This is what I was kind of thinking about. And I give credit to myself because I think this is pretty accurate. There's like four tiers of like editing in Survivor, and some are good and some are bad. The lowest tier is when you are doing poorly and other people in their confessionals are talking about how you're doing poorly. The third tier, like if that's four, the third tier is you're just acknowledging that you're doing poorly, but you're trying to kind of get out of it, but no one else is really giving confessionals about how poorly you're doing. The
Okay.
second is when you're doing something good, but no one else is really acknowledging it in the game, in their confessionals. And the best is when you're in a good spot and other people are talking good about you. There's no better sign in Survivor than other confessionals talking good about someone else. And I think, and when I say good, I'm not saying like they're just a good person. Like when you see that it's like genuine, right? And I think the only content Ben had outside of him being like his good high vibes himself is like people like Tim and like other people in the tribe just talking about how they liked him. And I think that's going to be good for him. Likability is a key. I think this is going to be a tribe that's not the strongest on paper, but could be a tribe that survives up until a swap or a merge without even going to tribal. Like I could see Nami losing before them.
Maybe, yeah. I don't know. I feel
I
like
think they got the puzzles and the strength on lock because I feel like they might have like on paper the weakest men with Ben, Charlie, and Tim, like physically. But I feel like Survivor's not like, besides that big get-go that we're gonna get to where it's like these big weights, it's like a lot of it is just like being quick and agility, which could be Charlie, being good at puzzles, which is like Charlie and Tim, and like being like, crafty and being able to see things is like Ben. I think that they stack better than Orange. So I think
mm,
they're gonna avoid tribal until like a swap at least.
I also think that right now they're too much of a kumbaya tribe that for my liking. I think
Yeah,
that
but I
they
mean it's day
talking
three.
about
It's like
alliances, but like it seems like they all love each other, and like there's definitely not that on the other two tribes.
yeah.
Orange is a mess. I have no idea what's gonna happen if they go to tribal. I think it'll be between Venus and Randon,
Me too.
unless it's like a blowout. And from the scenes from the next episode, it doesn't seem like it's going to be a blowout. So I don't think that Soda or Liz would be in trouble for being a weak link. So I feel like it's going to be Randon or Venus if they go to
I
tribal.
feel like it's Randon. I feel like Randon's in trouble. That was
I
the first
don't like,
episode
I don't
for
know why, but I just don't like Randon.
yeah.
I
Not a big
kind of
Randon
want him
guy.
to go. I'm
I
loving
want to
the
like him is the thing, but there's something about him where I'm just there's something about like that's a Parvati like I just feel like that is so like just that doesn't do anything ever. It's just like tell her that you're looking for the idol. Like like not you, but like that Venus is looking for the idol. Like
yeah.
tell her the truth. It's so early, and like you're gonna tell another like female. You're gonna talk about another female's looks, compare that game style because of their looks to another female, like that. Brandon, come on, dude. Like that's not smart. Like if I'm out there and Brandon's talking to me, I'm like, dude, like that's not it, dog. Like
Well, I
that's
guess I guess he's just like he's nervous about that because honestly, I do
but
feel
she's
like
giving no
he,
signs of Parvati.
she's what?
It like in her confessionals, she's giving Parvati, but to them, I feel like she's giving no signs of Parvati. So it's like, how would he?
I don't know. Maybe she is. I feel like she's showing signs of poverty, but like at the same time, like poverty wasn't like outwardly strategic. It like she was just like a pretty face, and everyone like didn't want to vote her out and like wanted to befriend her, and then she was able to make moves because of that. I feel like
Yeah.
that might be what Venus is doing, and but I don't know. She got called a princess and then thought like, oh, and then because people are calling me princess, I'm on the bottom. Like I gotta go be aggressive. I gotta go search for this idol. Like I was kind of confused by that. Maybe they just didn't show a lot of the editing, but
Yeah. I don't know.
of like other conversations that was had, and maybe Venus is on the bottom. But I don't. I thought that was a little out there that she thought automatically she was on the bottom. But yeah, I think Randon is nervous um, for Venus and maybe just doesn't have a great connection with Venus and wants to come up with anything in a short amount of time that can be used against her and the only thing that can be used against her at this point because they don't really know each other is her looks. So
Hmm.
I guess that's kind of what he was trying to run with. He thought he could trust Soda. Soda had her Sodar. Her Sodar was going off,
Yeah.
saying
So
I can't trust Randon.
yeah.
So I feel like
But
Venus is not as on the bottom as we think, especially with Soda wanting to work more with Venus than Randon.
yeah, no, I think there's something to be said about them showing us that too. I think Randon's in some trouble. Have they lose the next episode? But before we jump ahead too much, I do want to talk about this opening challenge a bit.
Yep,
We get another Sweat versus Savvy. Um, I'm over the Sweat versus Savvy. That's just me.
I hate it.
That's nothing for me. I don't want to even spend too much time talking about it, but I do want to talk about Jelensky and Q doing their portion of it. Uh I mean, people can hate me. If I'm Jelensky, I feel like I'd quit too. I don't hate his decision. I hate the way he went about it because he just made him look awful. Because for me, like if I'm with Q and I'm like we're just not getting it, I'm gonna go, yo, we have an immunity challenge. I'm all because I can read, I'm reading Q right here, right? We have an immunity challenge. I'm all for finishing this, but I just like to exhaust every option. And for me, my my feet hurt. Like I'm dead. This is day 3. I know how important this stuff is, but I don't want to go to tribal. And I know we have an immunity challenge like tomorrow or whatever.
Well, it was day one, and their immunity challenge is day three.
Ah, fuck. Maybe that doesn't work. Then maybe I would have toughed it out. Come on, Jelensky.
I would have toughed it out 100%.
I was
Also,
thinking it was a little bit closer. I was thinking like immunity was like that night or the next day.
no, so there's two
This
things.
isn't an LRG. I got to get out of my LRG.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
There's two things that was wrong with it. One, um, is that Jelinski first thought that several hours meant 7 hours when they were given 4 hours. So he's like, oh, well, this should take 7 hours, but they're only giving us 4 hours. It's impossible. We might as well stop, which I thought was so stupid. I don't know how, if he thinks that several means seven, right? Uh, for his whole life. Like there must have been like certain times where someone used the word several, he thought it was seven, and it blew up in his face, and he realized it wasn't seven. Like the fact
Maybe
that
not. Maybe
he's
not.
still up until this point always has thought that several is seven is kind of wild. But yeah, that's one main reason why he quit. Um, and I think it's also that like he didn't want to um like use up so much energy on himself when but at the same time like if you get the supplies then you will be better hydrated, you'll be better
True.
rested,
Yeah.
you won't be cold, you'll have a better night's sleep because you'll have fire and everything. So I feel like it should have been worth it. And Jelinski was the first person to say, I can definitely do this. Like let me do sweat.
Yeah. We
Like
see how
he was
that
the
turned
first
out.
person, even before Q. Like it's crazy that he was the one to quit.
Yeah. And then we get over to the Sega tribe, and they're not as savvy as they think. They form the Dumb and Dumber Alliance.
Love that.
They didn't dig. I would have at least dug right there, like a little bit, right? Like
Why would you just dig?
after they found out when they looked under the thing and there was nothing under there, wouldn't you just dig the sand right there just cause?
Well, they weren't looking at the sand. They were looking like if underneath the board there was like an answer or something.
Yeah, but I would dig. It's sand, like it's Survivor. Like I feel like I would dig. Like you're always dig. Like
Yeah, I guess,
you
but
gotta
like
dig for like everything. Like I feel like it's always hidden. It's always like in there somewhere. Like I would dig.
well, if it's a puzzle, I feel like the puzzle should give you the actual answer, not necessarily you need to do another task to get it. I feel
Yeah.
like, but
New era,
Survivor is
baby.
unpredictable. It's predictable, but it's unpredictable. So,
Right.
if I was in that position, there's no way in hell I would have thought to dig. So I hope that I would have been doing it with you in that scenario, so that we could dig underneath it.
Yeah, I
I
mean I
just
would
think
dug.
it's silly that they crossed out all of the numbers and they were leftover letters and they didn't put the two and two together when
I was
the
really hyped for a minute. I was like, oh, like immediately when Ben's like crossing everything. I was like, he's a genius, and I was like, ah, he just
uh-huh.
doesn't
Yeah,
have
no. He was just like, oh, like here are all the numbers, like all these numbers put together must be the code, but there's a bunch of numbers, but there's only six numbers on the code. Like it doesn't make sense.
it. No, I did enjoy that. I thought that was fun. We see right away, and we talked a little bit, we talked about maybe who would be first going on that tribe. I kind of threw a wild card out there, Mariah, because she forms an alliance with Jem and Maria right away. And we see that Maria and Tim kind of start to bond. The girls really like Charlie, but everyone likes Ben. So you're right, it is this big kumbaya tribe off the first episode. So early on in the episode, I'm not even thinking about them going to tribal. I'm like, they're fine. I feel like they're just like I kind of just got purple vibes from for
From the whole
tribal.
thing,
And not
yeah.
only that, dude, Banu was giving like major first vibe, like first boot vibes.
Was he like, yeah, you told me that you said that your preseason you thought Banu was going to be the first one out. And I was kind of
yeah.
shocked by that. I thought there's no way he would be the first one out. He seemed so lovable. He seemed like a jam type character.
Yeah, no, he's really like fun and I like him. I'm just worried that he wasn't going to mesh. And what I found very interesting was his name didn't circulate really once as a candidate to be up on the block because I guess they had two very strong candidates to go on the block pretty
Mhm.
early. But it was like, but he wasn't included on things at the same time.
Right.
It was
He
kind
wasn't
of
in
like
the
a
majority alliance.
it
Yeah.
was kind of just like a nothing burger thing right there where he was kind of just there. I thought he was a very fun person, but I was like, is he can I see him as someone who could be like a serious winner, power player? I don't see it. I feel like he's going to be a pre-merger. I think that we've got scenes from our next episodes and clips that show that he's going to get a little bit of panicky and a little bit hectic. I'm ready for that because it's going to be very, very entertaining. But uh, what I kind of want to say about this this purple tribe is they were just, they were really banked on Zelensky on being like a strong player, but they just got Q, so I feel like Q's gonna be sticking around for a while. Um,
I think Q will also I think if they know Merge is right around the corner and somehow Q and his personality rubs people the wrong way, maybe he goes, but I think Q is like guaranteed Merge. I don't think Q can win the game. I think we've
yeah,
seen how he reacted to a person like Zelensky um in his confessionals and also in strategy talk and how he didn't because they were in an alliance together, him and Tiffany and Kenzie, they seemed to talk it out and eventually come to a decision. But Q doesn't seem to talk to people the right way. He seems a little too passionate, and when someone of like him, who is like a big, strong man, talks like that to people, it can be thought of as rubbing people the wrong way. So I think at the merge, he could end up being someone like a Bruce type character,
yeah,
maybe. Not as bad as Bruce. Bruce was pretty bad, but someone who might just people want to get out because one, they're a threat, and two, they're not letting us be heard in our alliance.
mhm.
But I think that he's too strong of a player right now and has too strong of connections with people, and there's too many. There's plenty of people on the tribe to be on in the minority for him to not make merge, unless there's a tribe swap.
Yeah. Are you feeling like any of these tribes are gonna be like a Lulu 2.0, or do we feel like it's gonna be pretty even, like 43, where it's like a 4-4-4 majority
I
thing?
do think that minority is going to be probably the purple tribe. Another thing that like I thought about that it makes sense to me is I feel like a lot of times in the last few seasons, the first tribe to lose or like the second tribe to lose or something, um, ends up losing a lot in a row. And most of the time it's because the tribes were poorly formatted and there's certain tribes that were just not as strong as others. But I think it also could have to do with you not having Flint, not being able to eat, not being able to cook, not being able to be to sleep well, not be able to be warm, and a lot of other things that have to go into surviving. But I think going into the immunity challenges on not on the same level as the other tribes um, could, put you at a disadvantage going into the challenge. Um,
Yeah.
so I think that's also something to think about. The whole introduction of if you lose, you get your flint taken away. I think that definitely sets back the losing tribe going into the next challenge.
Yeah, 100%. I want to talk a little bit, we're going to get into the challenge pretty soon, but we see we've got three tribes. Um, we kind of established kind of like early on in the beginning of the episode, uh they don't get the sweat, they don't get the savvy, unsuccessful on both legs of that. But we see that a boat does arrive, and I want to know a little bit about the opinion of people offering to go or just randomly choosing, because if I'm there, I want to be like random. I don't want to go, first off. You know me, I'm the last guy to go. No shot do I want to go. No thanks.
I wouldn't want to go either.
But if I got randomly selected, then you can't blame me, and then the fan in me would be really hype. But then I know that I could have the potentially to, potentially lose something or be put in a position very early on that could really just like deter my game in the wrong way. But it also could be good for me. For me, I just don't want to go. But if I get randomly selected, I'm okay. But I'm never offering to go. And I always get baffled by people that offer to go. Zelensky didn't come through once. Was this his way of proving himself, or is this just this Zelensky being
I
Zelensky?
think it's just Zelensky. I think he just wanted to go. He was like, "Ooh, I could possibly get an advantage. Ooh, I'm playing Survivor. Let me
I'm
do
not thinking about the
everything."
tribe.
No.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't think he ever was.
I think it's silly to go, especially the first time, because it puts a target on your back. Um, if you get an advantage and you're not 100% in the majority, it could put a target on your back. If you are thought to be lying, it could be a target on your back. If you lose your vote, target on your back. So overall, unless you're in like a great position on your tribe, there's no reason you should be putting your hand up to go. I think the best time to go is towards the merge, like when it's like one or two tribals before the merge, you've already established alliances and relationships that won't crack if you go on the journey, and people that will trust whatever you say when you come back from the journey. Um, and then you don't have much time before the merge where then you can ask questions about what happened on the journey and make sure that what you said makes sense.
Well, yeah,
Um,
isn't that true? But isn't there something to be said about someone who goes to the journey in the sixth episode versus the person that goes in the first episode? Because when you come back, you have zero. You've never voted together. You haven't really played much of the game yet to be able to establish that trust. But when you have
mhm,
voted three times together and you've like been in the majority of this alliance, you go on one of these boats and you come back. It's so easy to be like, I did this for us. This is what I have.
exactly.
You
Yep.
already have that rapport. It's like trying, I'm a caseworker. I counsel people. So like it's like me trying to counsel someone in a shop right when they're like having an episode. They might not take to me as quickly and as well as someone who like I work with on a day-to-day basis. They might not trust my word to be as good, right? So it's one of those things where it's like maybe I'd go later on, but I'm never going to be the first one on my tribe or the first boat to come. I don't want it to be me, and I don't think it really helps at all unless you're someone who is on a like a winning tribe that doesn't really have to worry about tribal council, but you can't really predict that on day three.
I also feel like if it's it's something that Austin said in his preseason interviews last season, where he's a big threat physically, so he knows that he will probably he had enough confidence in his social game that he would probably be fine pre-merge because no one will want to vote him out because one, everyone will probably like him because he has a good social game, and two, he's a big threat. I mean, he's a big physical competitor, which you want on your tribe early on in the game. So he was kind of making sure he would be set up at the merge with an advantage. So he wanted to go on a journey early on in the game, knowing that regardless, he won't be targeted early on in the game. So it will just give him a chance to earn an advantage in the game. I feel like that's something that people should think about. If you know on your tribe, you are the challenge performer on the tribe. And unless you have a terrible social game, you'll probably make the merge or make it far at least because they don't want to vote you out because you're strong. That's the kind of person who I would be okay with raising their hand and saying, "Hey, I want to go on this journey,"
Yeah.
because you don't have much to lose. You don't have much to lose.
Yeah.
Um,
No, it's true. It's like different than like you see like, if we're in a tribe with five others around us and someone who immediately off the jump I would consider on the bottom goes, it kind of adds that red flag of like, well, can we consider this person the sole person on the bottom because they might come back and they might have something. And
that
it's all
too.
about kind of just your positioning and your perspective, your perspective of where you are on the tribe and who else is around you and what their perspective is on even going on these journeys. But
Yeah,
we see
that's a
for
good
the
point.
journey, it's Maria, Tevin, and it's Jelinski. I like the game. It's okay. It's fine. Not I don't know. I just lied. I don't love the game. But because it puts someone in a really, really bad position to fail, and it puts someone in a much easier position. I mean, Tevin said it himself. He's like, I have the easiest job in the world. Just tell the truth. And then Zelensky's like, I am gonna have a panic attack. So it's I mean, it's all about luck, and that's Survivor is about 35% luck if you really think about it. So it's a very fitting game for the show, for the game itself. Not huge on it, but I do like the way that kind of Maria broke it because she was like, Jonesy, if you're lying, she mothered him. She was like, if you're lying, like I'm literally gonna tell everyone that you lied. So like, might as well just tell me the truth. She's still gonna tell everyone that he attempted to lie. So it was a very much lose-lose situation for him.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It was very smart for Maria to do that. And she got
Yeah.
her way. Jelinski, with his move, I can see it both sides. I understand that what he did was very idiotic because he had already lied in the first place and then he changed his mind and he's giving up his vote for which is a very important part of the game, especially in a six-person tribe, and especially because he quit the first challenge, and I guess he didn't realize that people were upset that he did.
Yeah.
So maybe he thought he was fine and he could lose his vote. So that's the general idea of why I thought it was a bad move. But I can understand where he's coming from because at that point when he was on the journey, he had established a four-person alliance majority with Q, Tiffany, and Kenzie. So I don't know if this is exactly how he was thinking because it didn't seem like he was thinking very hard. But in the whole grand scheme of things, if he lost his vote, their alliance would still have majority 3-2 over the other two. So if he lost his vote or not, it wouldn't matter. So giving up his vote to let these two people have their votes, now those two people will be happy that he was the reason they got extra votes and maybe at the merge be able to work with him. And like what was said at tribal council about how they thought like why would giving them extra votes help our tribe overall. Zelensky didn't really say this, which kind of made him seem like he was completely in the wrong. But not only will they want to work with him, but then he could convince them like, hey, like this is my alliance, you get your alliance, and let's all work together, and it could benefit all of them at the merge.
Yeah,
So
I think, but what they were coming from more so was like you're already, you're thinking, a couple too many steps ahead, where it's like we just gotta stay alive. Like we need your vote because anything can happen, and it's like your vote is paramount. Your vote tells you where you stand, and I think that they feel like between that and Sweat for Savvy, like he's just like someone who gives up. And like when the going gets rough,
yeah,
the going gets rough, he folds. What does that translate to? When strategy gets really hard on day 14 and things get you fold. And that is something that you can't really trust. And I think that's what they were looking into the analytical side of those things. And I think that's what kind of leads to his demise that we see come. But, you know,
yeah.
I,
I think it
I
was like the combination of the two. I think
yeah,
if he didn't quit the sweat task and then did this, I don't think they would think of it as bad as he just quit twice in a row. I think he would just think of it as okay, like it sucks that he didn't do something for the tribe, but at least he got us our supplies earlier and
his
like
whole
he's
his whole
doing what he knows
delivery was
right.
bad though. It was like he came home. He was like, yeah. So like he came back to camp and was just like, yeah. So like I basically folded.
Yeah,
Like
he said the way he said it made it seem so much worse than it actually was. He
because
could
he
have
could have lied. He could have just said like he could have made something up and then been like, and that's how I lost my vote. So I don't have a vote, but I tried. And then like, Ben, I mean not Ben, Maria and Tevin don't know that he's saying that back at camp. So in their head, thanks for the extra vote, decent graces, maybe if we feel like using that, maybe I feel like they just I don't know. I feel like a lot of people like looked at Jelinski, no shade to Jelinski, but in the game of Survivor just did not take him very seriously.
Mhm.
And I think that it goes about the way that you also present yourself. Like I could only imagine the dude like before like when they couldn't talk to each other and they're just in like Ponderosa before the game or like in the hotels before the game, like just mouthing to people like legendary. Like I could just see it. Like, like
Yes, dude, with him saying how he was going to be a legend, a Survivor legend, have Survivor legend status. The funniest thing out of all of those confessionals was when he said that he's going to have Survivor legend status for blindsiding Jess, for getting Jess out, the person who was saying, "Oh my God, my ADHD is so bad, like I'm losing my mind." Um, and saying, "Oh, I can't sleep, like I can't think right now." Like someone like that, getting that person out, um, is gonna make him a Survivor legend.
yeah.
By making her not play her shot in the dark, that's Survivor legend status. Like, come on.
Yeah, apparently. Um, but yeah, I mean, we see David goes, Jelinski, he goes back to camp. He folds. He tells people that he folds. We get like a little snippet of Bono being like,
Oh my God, that was so funny.
he was kind of
When he
he's
was
so
like,
crazy. Like, you've
"Have you
seen
seen
Jeff
Jeff
talk. You got to
talk?"
dig deep.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It
Have you
was
seen
like very
Jeff
awkward
talk?
and funny at the same time. Um,
Oh, when he said like, "You gotta dig deep" with a disgusted face on. Oh my gosh,
yeah,
so
no,
funny.
it was good. We
But
see,
also, with the whole Zelensky thing, with like Maria telling him that I will go back to my tribe and tell them about the deceit. Listen, you're playing a game for $1 million. If he doesn't lie, like he just got unlucky that he got the skull. If he doesn't lie, he loses his vote. He cares about his vote more than he cares about you guys losing a vote.
and then
Like,
he should have stuck to it. But then, at the same time, she was able to tell him what was
yeah,
what
the
was
the fact
enough.
that he thought that was
That's
gonna
her playing the
be.
game though too. Using that.
Mhm.
That wasn't pure logic. That was more like, you know, she would have done the same thing if she was David, Jelinski, as far as
Yeah, he would.
like
Yeah, she would have
lied.
done the same thing, except she would have kept
She would,
lying
yeah,
because she
exactly.
understands it's a game, and no one's gonna be mad at the deceit when that's literally the game to not lose your vote. They're gonna be like, okay, like he tried to keep his vote, like we can't like fault him on that. And also, small things like that are when you like go to the merge and you actually have a conversation with this person, like go in 43 at pre-merge, all the other tribes thought Cody was going to be a big player, that Cody was going to be someone who would deceive everyone, that he was going to be a salesperson, that he's not to be trusted. That's what everyone was thinking pre-merge. You go to the merge, within the first day, everyone wanted to work with Cody. Everyone loved Cody. So
Yeah,
like what the small little bits of knowledge you get preseason or pre-merge going into the merge really doesn't matter. It matters about the connections you make when you're actually face to face.
yeah, 100%. So we see a little bit, we're gonna get right into this immunity challenge, but we see a little bit more of the tribes. We see that Tiffany finds the Beware advantage.
Yeah.
Digs up a box with a lock. She tells Kenzie. Kenzie's pretty close proximity there. But that they get the key after they lose an immunity challenge, and they have to go back to where they found it for further instructions in order to get the idol and to get the vote back and all that good stuff. What do you think about this new Beware?
Um, well, I don't like Beware advantages in general, but for Beware advantages, I think this is a great twist. I think it's fun because when you lose a challenge, there's not that much time in between the challenge and tribal to really solidify your plan, and everyone is strategizing and looking around and whatnot, and obviously looking for an idol can be seen as sketchy. So the fact that you only have that little amount of time to decode whatever the message is, and then also go find the idol, find the key, and then go back to the box and then unlock it. You have to do all that before tribal while also trying to strategize. Definitely one was going to make for good TV, so I know that was one big reason why they did that. And two, it made it more strategic for the person finding it because they needed to figure out how they can maneuver, still having strategy talks and being able to look for the idol so that they have their vote for tribal council. Because if they need their vote, they're going to do whatever they can to get the vote. So I liked it. I thought it was a good twist to the Beware advantages, but I still miss just when you could find an idol clue or you could just find an idol.
Yeah, me too. I wish they would simplify that again. What did you think about Tiffany telling, Q and Kenzie?
Yeah, so I guess I
3 out of the 6
kind of
people in that tribe as of this point know what's going on there. So
Yeah, I kind of understand the Kenzie because Kenzie was like nearish to her when Tiffany found it. Um but the telling Q, I guess because Kenzie already knew about it, so what's one more person knowing about it because that was going to be the core three because they didn't trust Zelensky. Um so I kind of understand telling them and that they would keep it secret and that they want to continue to work with Tiffany. But I just thought it was interesting because I didn't do much um, research preseason, but I did see on Instagram some videos here and there that I didn't scroll past and watched. And I saw Tiffany said in her preseason interviews that people should really shut the fuck up when it comes to telling people about their advantages when they find them. Yet she goes and tells Kenzie and Q right away. Um, like completely hypocritical of what she said preseason. And she was so passionate about not telling people about the advantages and then goes and tells half their tribe. So I don't know. I thought it was definitely interesting that of all people, Tiffany did it. I don't think she needed to tell Q. I think she could have just kept it her and Kenzie. I think she didn't even have to tell Kenzie because I don't think Kenzie was looking at her at the time. I think she could have kept it secret, but whatever. I really want what's also annoying about the beware advantages is it makes people because they're going to lose their vote, and if it shows that they're going to lose their vote at tribal council, you need to tell people so that they aren't like shocked at tribal. That's the thing also I don't like about beware advantages, that like it forces you to kind of at least tell one other ally, when if you found an idol and that was it, you could kind of hide it by like putting it in your pants or something, and then no one will know, and a lot more
different strategy.
people had it hidden. So
Yeah, no, it's definitely a different strategy. But I think she ultimately tells Q because I just think she feels very solidified in that three.
yeah.
And now that they know, eventually they find out, they're gonna lose someone. Now you got 3 out of 5. I don't think it's an awful move for her. We'll see if it comes back, but I don't think Q is the type to go against Tiff and Ken. I think that that's where he feels good. I just think he wanted to keep Jess. I think he really just had this personal vendetta against Zelensky, which is ultimately why he ends up going out. But we get into this immunity challenge. They have this huge giant gecko. I love that. I was fearing that it was gonna fall on somebody. Um,
I think it kind of did, just like I guess not the
yeah,
heavy part of it. Like I think Tevin like toppled over maybe someone else, but it was 15 feet long, 500 pounds.
yeah, it's
That's
big.
insane.
Yeah, that's a lot, and it was tough. I didn't think like Yanni was gonna get it over the thing at one point. They eventually get it over, but they lose at the puzzle. They're gonna be the first tribe to lose an immunity challenge of 46. The first boot is going to be a purple Yanu tribe member. I like the challenge overall. The gecko is cool. Definitely bring back stuff like that. I'm a huge advocate for that. I love when people get yelled at while they're doing a puzzle because you literally saw Zelensky's hand like this. Like it really just shows like what kind of pressure that is. That
Oh yeah,
very
it's
unmatched
wild.
until you live it. Like we're talking about it, but that's a different type of pressure, you know.
Yeah, like in the LRGs that
And
I'll
you're
play, like
first.
a
You don't
lot
want
of
to be the
times,
first.
yeah, I'll a lot of times I'll offer to do the puzzle in LRGs maybe like half the time. And whenever I'm doing those puzzles, It's definitely nerve-wracking. So imagine um being videoed on Survivor on the real show where it's going to be shown in front of everyone and it's for $1 million. You don't want to be the first one out. Like that is a different kind of nerve-wracking. And so I totally understand what they were going through, but
Yeah, like
still,
my friends tell me they're like, you're gonna play one day. Like, well, you got to play Survivor one day. Like, it's not that easy. Like, it's very hard to get on the show, right? That's first. Let's just say that's very hard to get on. But they were like, my friends always say they're like, you just can't be first, and that's the thing. Like, I always have in my head, just can't be first. Second, hey, if I'm second, I'm second, right? But I can't be first. I can't.
first definitely stinks. Yeah.
Yeah, it stinks. But Jelensky, you're wearing it proudly. You're wearing it well. I can't remember a more legendary first boot, but let's kind of see
He does
why
have
he
legend
does.
status. Yeah.
Yeah, in that sense. But let's see how he becomes the first boot. We get back to camp and we see immediately it's going to be Jess or it's going to be Jelinski for a multitude of reasons. But originally it's going to be Jess because socially she's not just in with the tribe. Kenzie straight up tells her she's not talking to anyone. You can kind of see that Jess, with her ADHD and her lack of sleep and everything, the elements are getting to her. She's uncomfortable out there. It seems that it's going in the direction of Jess until Q comes in, and Q is very not on board with the Jess vote. I don't even think he was, you know, pro Jess. I think he's more anti Jelinski. And he wants Jelinski out first, can't align with a quitter, not someone he wants on the tribe, someone who's gonna ultimately with the morale and with the performance so far make us a weaker tribe.
Mhm.
Because if I'm Q, I'm probably like if I think I'm Q and I'm right, I'm like, Jess will she'll sleep. She's a human. She'll fall asleep. She'll be good. She'll rejuvenate. We could use her for other strengths. Like there's a world where, because for me, right? For me, if I'm on that tribe, and I'm not Zelensky, I'm like someone else. I like want to keep Jess as well with Q because not only that, there's something to be said about the person who's like having a rough time out there. Maybe it's like the player that I would be in me. Like maybe this isn't the way that Zelensky rolls. Is just like I want to keep that person, but obviously it came down to Zelensky or Jess, so he wouldn't want to keep her. But I'm just saying, like for me, like I would be wanting to keep Jess out there. I think Zelensky was the right move. Just who was it the right move for? Was it just Q? Was it for the entirety of the tribe? We'll see. But I wanted to kind of hear your thoughts on going into it. Did you think it was going to lean Jess, or did you think it was going to lean Zelensky? Because I was kind of torn at tribal. I kind of didn't know where it was going to go.
So after the immunity challenge, I thought it was going to be Jelinski. Um, did I think that was a good move overall? No. I think that if I was in that position, I would absolutely get out Jess. Um, it seemed like a bunch of things. One is it seemed like Jelinski and Jess were going to be two very valid options for the next two tribal councils to be voted out. So it was all about like who do you want to play this game with? And Jess won in order to not have to go back to tribal. She, it seems like Jelinski and Jess weren't really good with the puzzle. They weren't doing well in terms of that, so I guess they're both even on that playing field. But Jelinski does have strength. Maybe he'll give up, but I think a decent amount of that had to do with him thinking it was several hours was 7 hours, and it was like, there's no way
But
I'm doing this in
does he have
7 hours.
strength?
But
Like
what?
no shade on Jelinski, but like does he have strength? Like are we just saying that because he's like a 21-year-old white guy?
I
Like
mean, I wouldn't say he has strength, but he's definitely much stronger in physicality than Jess, who's
I
like the
don't know.
smallest one on the tribe, a girl compared to the tallest one on the tribe, Jelinski, and a guy. It makes sense that he would be physically better, and they both kind of struggled on the puzzle. And Jess is like having trouble sleeping. She's having trouble coming up with sentences. She's not doing any sort of strategizing with the other players on the tribe, and Jelinski thinks he's in the majority alliance.
Yeah.
So taking out Jess, now Jelinski thinks Banu's going to be next, probably. Jelinski thinks he's in a good position. It'll be easy to lie to him in the next tribal council so that he doesn't play his shot in the dark if they do want to blindside him. Now they're in a position where Jess, I think, would pretty much know she's on the bottom and she'd play her shot in the dark, which could possibly result in someone else having to go home. So in terms of like thinking about the shot in the dark, thinking about allies, Jess didn't have an alliance with any of them. Jelinski was in a majority alliance. So even though he's like a quitter and probably annoyed the crap out of them, he would have stayed loyal to his majority alliance, which I mean, that's all I could ask for someone to just stay like one or two more rounds, you know?
Yeah, I think they looked at him more though as just like unpredictable and as just as someone who had a promising figure to maybe get it together and get some sleep and to be able to wake up and be able to contribute to the tribe.
Maybe like even
We
though
saw what
Jess
they
didn't
needed
give
out of
him Puljic.
Zelensky. Like they he had three attempts to succeed and he failed in all three. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and I feel like that's a bit unlucky. A bit of the more chances you take in Survivor, the more likely you are to fail some in these regards. So I mean, it is one of those things as well. Like, the more times you swing, the more times you're gonna probably miss, early on in the gate here. So yeah, we see Jelinski, legendary for his boot. He was entertaining. He wants to be called back. I think there's a world where he might have a shot, to be honest, of first boots. He's like up there.
They're not gonna do a first boot
No, I'm
season.
not saying they'll do a first boot season, but I think he's probably one of the best first boots we've had in a long time.
In terms of entertainment
Yes.
value in episode one, yes. In terms of getting invited back, I think they are this so dumb to invite Jelinski back
Who
because
they invite back? Abraham? Like they're not.
you want to invite back first boots who had a promising future but kind of got screwed over. Like if you were an obvious first boot, like you did things episode like in the first few days that made you the like a very obvious vote out. Like those aren't the people you want back because they're probably going to just do something stupid yet again. You want people who actually can play the game who was a first boot. So I don't know. I feel like he's never going to get invited back again, but he definitely was entertaining for episode one.
Yeah, we'll see. But before we wrap it up, we have a little bit we want to talk about here with scenes from the next episode. A little bit of Survivor pool picks are back, and I do want to ask Steve real quick. Steve, after the episode one premiere, and kind of having a blind perspective compared to the last seasons where you had a little bit of preseason uh, knowledge before the game,
Mm-hmm.
going into just watching episode one, reading the edit, getting the vibes, getting the feel. Who is your official winner pick of season
Okay.
46?
So first of all, without doing much research preseason, going into episode one, my winner pick was Tim. I love Tim. I love his energy. I saw like the very beginning of his like audition tape and saying how he can like deceive people because he has like a wife and two kids, and I was like, I thought that was hilarious. Um, and he seems like just someone who would be likable. So Tim is definitely up there for me. Um, uh, Official winner pick. I mean, honestly, I just didn't get enough from this episode to for it to really change my mind too much. So I guess I'll stick with Tim. I do think that there's a chance. I think if he makes the merge, he has a great chance of winning. But if he gets screwed by this all girls alliance taking out a guy and they go after him instead of Ben, then he might be a pre-merge boot. But I think he can do well. I think he has what it takes. He has the personality, the people skills. So my official winner pick after episode one, hoping that he doesn't get screwed over by the Girls Alliance, is Tim. Well, what are you
I like
thinking?
Tim. I like Tim. I think Tim is he's in a strong tribe. I don't think they're gonna see tribal too much. I think he could be like swap fucked or something like that pretty easily. But I think he has the social chops, the strategic chops to make a run for it. I see a world where Tim could win easily. Um, I'm stuck between two people. I go back and forth. Depending on the day, I might go back and forth, but I am huge on Tiff. I think Tiffany is great. I think that her and Kenzie are going to be a fun duo to watch throughout the season. I think Tiff is a very good social player. I think she's strategically very savvy, very smart. I think that she's got a story, and I don't think a story, I'm not talking as much as like entertaining CBS, like telling a sob story. I'm talking about she's been through some shit. She's had been a hustler. She's been someone who's had to fight for the things that she wants. I think she has a great mix of just the social experiences, just like the life, just the she's got the it factor. I think she's fun. I think she's bubbly. I don't think people would be too threatened by her. I think that she is someone who can be the winner of this season.
I think that um, unless something crazy happens, like a Sabaya type thing that would happen to her, I think she's going to make it extremely far into this game. I think her and Tevin, I think are going to be huge players in this game. Her, Tevin, and Maria. I'd say if I had to pick one person from each tribe, yeah, right? Those are all different tribes. Yeah. If I had to pick one person from each tribe that I think will be the most powerful player on each of their tribes, I think it'll be Tevin, Tiffany, and Maria. Um, but I feel like Tiffany is going to be one of those players who is too big of a threat late in the game and gets taken out. I think she could be a final eight, final seven, final six, final five blindside. I don't see her getting to the end. I think it's going to be hard for her to manage her threat level late in the game. I think early on in the game, she'll manage it good enough to make great relationships and be in the majority. And I think she'll carry out being in the majority for a long time in the merge, long time in the pre-merge too. But I think it'll catch up to her. So I think it's a great pick because I think she's going to do amazing things. I just think that she's too obvious of a great pick that people on the island will think so too.
Yeah. I'm riding the Tiffany train. I'm with it. But without further ado, Steve, official pool picks of the season. Let's get started.
All right.
Let's do it. What do you got for me?
So yeah, so to remind everybody, every season of Survivor, I do a Survivor pool, which means that Pat, myself, and a bunch of my friends who are also Survivor fans, um, pick one person each week that they think for the next episode will not be going home. And if they don't go home, you move on to the next week. And then you can also not pick the same player twice in a single season. So you need to be strategic about who you pick so that you still have you don't run out of players later on in the season, um, and so that you have still players that can survive tribal councils later in the season. So it's a very fun league, and we're running it back again this year. Pat won ours last season for Survivor 45. Let's see
Ready to
if he
take the
can run it
crown
back
again.
again.
I'm trying to run it back, and I'm gonna run it back right now with my first pick.
Okay, who do you got?
So, my first pick to be safe guaranteed next week, knowing that I can't pick them again, is Liz.
Okay, that's a great pick. I wasn't even thinking of that. That's a great pick.
Yeah, I'm going with Liz. I think that I didn't want to go Banu from Yanu because if Purple goes, I feel like it's gonna be between Jess and Banu, and that could get funky there with Shot in the Darks and stuff like that. Um, I didn't want to pick Jess because I feel like if they go, she's next. Um, and then I didn't want to pick anyone from Green because I want to save them. And I was looking at Orange. I feel like Randon or Venus are both risky for what they have set up. I don't want to pick either of them. I think Liz and Soda are kind of in that medium spot. Kind of got better vibes from Soda, so I don't want to use that too early. I think Liz could be a pre-merge, but not yet. So I kind of want to go with Liz.
Amazing analysis. I 100% agree. I think that's a great pick. Um, I am going to personally go with Banu as my pick. I
I think that's a
think
good pick.
that
That would have been my second pick.
yeah, I think that he is definitely in trouble in that tribe, especially because I think they're a tribe that can continue to lose immunity challenges. I think Jess is the obvious one on the bottom. There's a if I don't think they're going to go to tribal next episode for some reason. I just think from seeing the scenes from the next episode of Banu like yelling at Jess with the puzzle, I feel like somehow they showed that thinking that Jess was going to be the reason they lost, and then it was going to be between Jess and Banu. But I think that was just to make us not think anything. I think that Green might actually go to tribal. I think they're going to get a lot of screen time in the beginning of the episode, setting up who might go home. That's my guess. I don't know. But yeah, with purple, I don't think they're going to go to tribal next episode. And if they do, I think Jess is the obvious vote. And even if Jess plays her shot in the dark, there's a 1 in 6 chance that she's safe. So I'm. It's a little bit risky, but it's not too risky to the
No,
point
I
where
think Banu's a good pick.
yeah.
I think Banu's a good pick. Yeah. But that's basically it for the premiere. It was a good premiere. I want to talk a little bit getting into next week's episode. We see Yanu, they're feeling defeated. You know, they lost. It is what it is, but they're going to try to bounce back. Venus is pissed, you know, something's going on around camp. Guessing it could be a random thing that they were kind of feeding us in that premiere. We see Banu yell at Jess. That's going to be fun. Seems like the immunity challenge is going to be a nail biter. It's going to be close.
Mhm.
I got a feeling that Orange is going to tribal. I feel like they're set that up for a reason. I feel like, I don't know, Randon's giving second boot. It's just giving that kind of thing. Like it just kind of feels there. I feel like Venus is going to win that war. What are your kind of bold predictions going into the second episode here? I know you said maybe Green. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. Like it just in the previews it showed Green being super kumbaya and like it showed like Ben making a fire and everyone like sitting around the fire like happy. I think they're doing that to trick us to think that they're not going to tribal. I think they are going to go to tribal and it's going to they already set up the whole girls versus guys thing in the previous episode. I think there's going to be more to that and more relationships to talk about pre-immunity challenge. Somehow I think Green is going to end up going, um, mainly because it showed people on orange arguing and people on purple arguing. So maybe that was to trick us. Who knows? But yeah, that's my bold prediction that Green is going to go to tribal. Um, another bold prediction. I think that um, I don't know. I just feel like an Orange, Tevin, and Hunter seem to be the only safe people. Hunter doesn't seem to really be gelling with the tribe to the point where people want him as a close ally other than Tevin, but nobody is even considering voting him out, and everyone likes his vibe in general. So I think Hunter is going to do well if he sticks with Tevin. Tevin helps him with his social game. I think we could see a good duo there. Um, with Green, what did I have for Green? I feel like like the Charlie getting included with the Girls Alliance puts him in a swing position. I think he's honestly in the best position in this tribe
Yeah,
right
and
now.
I didn't expect that for Charlie off the bat. I thought he was going to be the first one in trouble.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I thought from the guys that they would have wanted to target Charlie, but when Charlie got pulled in, now it seems to be between Ben and Tim. Tim has a close relationship with Maria because they're them being parents. Ben is the vibe guy.
But he's also
So
got that thing with Charlie.
what about Charlie?
So, you know, Ben has that alliance with Charlie, the Dumb and Dumber alliance. We get
I
that.
don't know if that's a real
I
alliance,
don't know.
but
You get them like I don't know. You get them him wearing his vest. Like I feel like you might.
that's the good point. The vest wearing, yeah, I could see that. So yeah, I think Tim might be in trouble if the girls
I
stick
think Tim's
together.
more in trouble than Ben initially here.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But I totally understand your bold prediction earlier on with Mariah maybe getting voted out, or Jem maybe, and the girls' alliance doesn't stick together. Maybe Maria doesn't use her extra vote, and wants to use it, maybe to get a guy out the second tribal or something because she wants to keep strength in the tribe. That I could totally see that happening too. And then purple, I think it's a no-brainer between Jess and Banu. I feel like that's just going to be a unexciting tribal council if that happens. But
100%. 100%. But that's gonna be it for episode 1 of Survivor 46. It was great to be back, Steve. It was awesome to talk about Survivor again, our favorite show. But yeah,
oh Yeah, it was so great to be back. I'm so glad I'm back podcasting. It's been a while. And I'm excited to podcast the rest of the season. Um, Hopefully better episodes ahead. I think this is still a great episode, but I know Survivor can do better. Last season, I didn't love episode 1, and episode 2 was amazing. So maybe hopefully that's what happens here, and we get a good episode to recap next time.
Yeah, it'll be good, and yeah, we're looking forward to seeing you back. Thank you all.
All right, see you guys.